The CPI Report, Child Protection in Iowa, brought to you by Vocal, Victims of Child Abuse Laws. You can watch our program on Mediacom Channel 15, Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Again, it's repeated Wednesday evening at 9:30. You can email us at vocaliowa@mchsi.com. My telephone number here in Des Moines, Iowa, 515-276-3956. Or you can call John at area code 515-282-2672. My name is Don Bergmeyer, and with me at the controls is my co-host,
John Harvey, and welcome to the CPI Report. CPI, that stands for Child Protection in Iowa. There's a couple of major efforts that we strive for. Number one is to influence public policy as it relates to child protection issues. And secondly, we like to work with families who call upon us to assist them in problems with the Department of Human Services and the juvenile court. We're not attorneys, so we cannot practice law before the bar. We do know a little bit about the law and about how parents should behave themselves with social workers in order to get the kind of relief that they need to protect their families and to secure the kind of family integrity that is required for families to function properly. Well, we've got a couple of things we want to do on our program today, so we're going to move right along. We're going to call upon Terrence Walker, who usually gives us a good review of what's happening in the court system, because without that court system, anything that we attempt to do with respect to changing things with the Department of Human Services and other areas is to no avail. So we're going to have to look toward such things as court review in order to improve the situation. Following that, we'll have a 36-minute presentation of the school law for Iowa the last 150 years. So you're going to find a scholar stepping forward, a scholar who practices as an attorney in Ames, Iowa, Craig Hastings. So we're going to hear both from Terrence Walker and later on from Craig Hastings, who has a very academically polished report to give us on Iowa history, Iowa school history. Here now, ready to reform the system, and I'm hoping can bring about some reform to the prosecutorial system as well as the court system, is Terrence Walker. Terrence?
Well, thanks a lot, John. I always appreciate your warm greetings and introductions. I think that it's a tall order that we have to serve to inform the public about what's really going on, because a lot of the officials, what they can do in a lot of instances is misinform us. And by misinforming us or uninform us, they can basically keep their jobs and keep out of the limelight and make sure that they conduct business as usual. And in a lot of instances, earn their six-figure paychecks and without doing anything out of the ordinary or without too much effort. What I want to talk about is what I feel are cartoon characters, and I got one in particular here that I don't know if you remember Duck Dodgers, Plan 8 from Upper Mars. It was a good cartoon back in the 60s. I think it was made in the 60s or 70s, but they replayed it plenty of times. It was very popular. Daffy Duck. Ducking and dodging. Because we've got a lot of officials in this state, it seems, that like to duck and dodge. They don't want to have responsibility. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt said, the typical vice of American politics is the avoidance of saying anything real on real issues. Well, in that vein, I want to continue talking about the state of the judiciary. Now, we're going to give you the real state of the judiciary, not the state of the judiciary that ducks and dodges the real issues. We're going to talk about the real issues that's affecting the judiciary as it pertains to Iowa. Because we really didn't get to cover in detail the past couple episodes the full text and the full meat and potatoes of the judicial state of the judiciary that was made on January 16th of 2008, which was delivered by Judge Marcia Turnus. I just wanted to pick up on a couple lines that she stated at the beginning of the state of the judiciary. She stated that the role of the judicial branch is evident to administer justice according to law equally to all people. She's also stated in the opening part of this state of the judiciary that while she's proud of the solid performance, current state of affairs. What are those current state of affairs? Well, the Des Moines Register and the Iowa Independent and several other newspapers here in Iowa, and also the TV stations, news forecasts or news programs, have been reporting all fall and all last year that Iowa leads the nation for imprisoning blacks at a rate 13.6 times that of whites. And while blacks account for 2.3% of Iowa's population, but 25% of its prison population, this was what the D.C.-based Sentencing Project stated last year. And according to the state of judiciary, Iowa has solid performance, according to Judge Marcia Turnus, in the area of the providing justice according to law equally to all people. Now, it would be to misinform us or uninform us, or to not even take any responsibility or any action on this, to not even speak to any strategy to combat this rating or combat this state of affairs. But this is what we're facing here in the era of duck dodgers in the judiciary here in the state of Iowa, because as we read the state of the judiciary text, which was it's on the judicial website for the state of Iowa, www.judicial.state.ia.us, or you can just do a search for Iowa Supreme Court website, and you should be able to pull it up and look up for the state of the judiciary. You will not see anything addressing the fact that Iowa has the worst disparity rate of any state as far as their sentencing is concerned in the United States. And so what we have here is a clear case of duck dodgers, and I just wanted to point that out and give people the real on the state of the judiciary, because the state of the judiciary that was pointed out by Justice Marcia Turnus is not given the true state of affairs. One other order of business here I wanted to cover is the fact that there's 17 Iowans have applied for the judicial position that's vacant. It's going to be vacant on May 17th on the Iowa Supreme Court when Justice Jerry Larson retires. Now the 17 applicants are listed on the Iowa Supreme Court website. Again, that's www.judicial.state.ia.us. And these group of people, these 17 people, are supposed to be becoming for like a kind of like a review, and 3 of the nominees will be selected from these group of applicants by the Judicial Nominating Commission, which will meet on the 6th and 7th of March. And the commission welcomes written comments from the public about the qualifications of any applicants, and the comments must be submitted to the state court administrator, who serves as the commission secretary, by March 5th. And the state court administrator's address is 1111 East Court Avenue, and that's in Des Moines, 50319. Again, that's 1111 East Court Avenue, 50319 here in Des Moines. And you want to address that to the state court administrator, and make sure that you point out that these are comments on the applicants. Now, you want to take a look at the list of applicants. I noticed right away one judge that I'm sort of familiar with, Judge David Danielson of Boone. I've experienced the way he also acts as Duck Dodgers in his courtroom. So, you got to really go over these and give the process a little bit of time to work. But, I would definitely, if I were you, I'd definitely go over some of these lists of judges.
Noticed Arthur Gamble is there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, Arthur Gamble. I'm not familiar too much with him. I know was a chief judge of the
5th District.
5th Judicial District, which covers Des Moines and Polk County and some of the surrounding counties. Did you have any comments on Judge Gamble?
Personally, several years ago, he did something that I disagreed with, but it was a small issue. Didn't really hurt me too much. But then just recently, I did get a positive response a couple times from him. That's I really appreciate. Overall, he's a typical judge. That's all I have to say.
So is that good or bad?
I wouldn't take a gamble.
Okay, you don't gamble because you might not get justice. You might be gambling for justice. But I would say vote no, or definitely make some comments on Judge Danielson from Boone, because I'm gonna definitely write up something and address the commission on what I've experienced in his courtroom. Well, the guy's appears to be nice, and at first, you get to, when you get the real meat and potatoes of what he's writing and his opinions or whatnot, you see that he can tend to omit a great deal of arguments. And I think that to be complete as a judge, you should be, if you're not going, I know you can't get a favorable ruling in all courts at all times, but by the same token, I think to be a fair judge, they would still have to adequately explain the reasoning and fully cover the issues that are being raised in the court proceedings that they're adjudicating. And I think that this judge does not do that. So, if we're going to continue with the era of Duck Dodgers, then yeah, you probably would want to elect him. But if we want to get rid of this avoidance issue and get on to having a better justice system here in Iowa, then I think we need to definitely not have Judge Danielson as part of the Iowa Supreme Court, especially. It's bad enough that he's in a district court. But that's all I had to state. Did you have any other issues? That's all I had for the judiciary as it pertained to the Iowa state of the judiciary. And I just wanted to give you the real to the real and inform you so that you can be informed. So, because otherwise they're going to uninform you and misinform you.
One comment I got: don't depend on first impression of a judge. A judge can be very courteous to you, call you by your first name or your last name, and really beef you up, encourage you, But then over the years, if you continue to have experience with this very polite judge, he works and where his money comes from the state. and that's controlling to him. And so you know how his rulings will come out in the end. And so if you don't work for the state or not paid by the state, you might try to stay away from a judge like that. It's got that kind of an appearance. John?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with that, Judge.
We'll go back to Terrence.
Okay. Well, I thought I was done, but I guess
Oh, okay.
I'll finish. So one more point I did want to make.
Speaking of points, Terrence has got another point.
Exactly. We're gonna keep the real to the real going here. Now, when I speak of the state of the judiciary that was announced or that was actually made by the Chief Judge Marcia Turnus on the 16th of January this year, again, I reiterate. She said the role of the judicial branch is evident to administer justice equally to all people, according to law. Now, I would think that a responsible judge in her position, knowing that there's been a couple of different reports highlighting the biases of the court system here in Iowa and showing that they've actually demonstrating that they do have disparities as far as sentencing, charging, and all that, as far as it pertains to minorities and blacks here in the state. I would think that if this true state of the judiciary message would encompass something that would definitely include not only that information, but also include a strategy to combat the proven and documented biases within the state of Iowa's judicial system. And so I think that, Governor Carver, we need to talk to our legislatures about getting on this and getting on these judges. And if they're not going to act, and they're going to act like there's not an issue, we should definitely vote them out coming this fall. And that's what I'd have to say on that issue.
Okay. Noting that there are some discrepancies and disparities with respect to sentencing primarily, what would be the easiest way to zip through to a resolution of that difficulty, other than judges recognizing that there is a problem?
Well, I think for one, they need to be educated. I mean, when you have the chief judge that is obviously not taking this as a serious issue or not even acting like it's an issue, for one, it's just going to continue the problem. And if you look at that quote under the Duck Dodgers cartoon that I got there, it states, and this is a quote from Duck Dodgers, the actual cartoon, "If he is our future, then history will not repeat itself because we will all be dead." And I think that's kind of indicative of the situation, because not only will history won't repeat itself, we'll all be dead. Black people will continue to be in ballooning, alarming numbers in prison here in the state of Iowa, and we'll have it'll have a catastrophic effect not only on our population, but we got to look at it from the standpoint that our populations are interdependent of each other. And if black people continue to suffer, I mean, everybody's going to continue to suffer, because justice as a whole will suffer in the state of Iowa. And that's not the true mission of the judiciary. But I think education, for one, is would be the main way to combat it. And then we need to have some training as far as judges. I mean, some of the judges, they have everybody has biases, everybody has prejudices. The only way that we can combat that is by getting information that's pertinent to every culture in the minds of these judges. The judges are not going to be good judges just because they have schooling from an educational institution that teaches them law. They also have to have some sort of sensitivity training that would enhance them in their understanding of the different cultures and the different people that are in their courtrooms. So I think that's the main emphasis that I would like to highlight as what would be the solution, which would, combat some of the problems here in the state of Iowa. And then, there also should be a sanction. It should also be like some sort of benchmark or goal to make sure and monitor that there's some progress in this area. And then if there's certain judges that are definitely way out of those metrics, we also should consider removing those judges. So that would be my multi-pronged approach to solutions of that problem in that area.
So many problems are rising in this area of judges and prosecutorial misconduct. I think of the Naiphong principle, in which a judge can do about anything he wants. I'm not a judge, a prosecutor, and they're held with very little accountability. You don't see these people being fired for misconduct, but indeed they certainly are engaged in misconduct from time to time to the detriment of the citizenry. And in fact, we've read a couple of stories just recently, dates back years and years, of when people were thrown in prison for molesting children. Come to find out, they never did. But the way prosecutors put the cases together, it makes it appear as though some of those things were happening. Well, we did promise that we're going to listen to, if the tape works properly, we're going to listen to a fellow who is going to tell us a little bit about Iowa school history. And I think you're going to find some of the subject matter to be of great interest. You're going to hear a lot of little children in the audience making quite a racket. But I still think that we can piece out what the gentleman is saying as he's going up for a PhD at Iowa State University in area of history, having served as an attorney in Story County in Ames, Iowa. The name of the gentleman is Craig Hastings, and we'll try to get his name up here before long. And in any case, here now we'll turn to listen to a presentation by Craig Hastings.
Doing transactional law instead, but I do appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to come here. It's wow. As we started out, none of you guys would have been daring to show your face down here because most homeschoolers in Iowa were underground. We didn't have quite that problem when we started out, but we had a very friendly local school district guy who was a believer. This is fantastic to see all of you. I've been asked to give you a kind of a background on homeschool law in Iowa, and it's a topic that I'm quite interested in. Okay. It's a topic I'm quite interested in because I was telling Justin, and I guess you heard before, after about 35
This
years
sound will
in
pick up
school,
a little bit because he's going to pick up the microphone.
And I'm enrolled in the PhD program in Iowa State in history. The reason for that is that having been involved with homeschool in many of the cases that you'll study if you ever study that history, I just really felt a burden to tell the story of the people that
You'll see a team working, helping him correct the microphone problem.
Write a book on the whole era when we went through that. Decided if I was going to do all that work, I might as well get some more letters behind my name. I don't do this very often. I taught a college class at Campus Baptist Church in Ames for over 30 years, and I speak from an outline almost exclusively, but there's enough detail in this history, and I know that we have homeschool kids here. Homeschool kids like history, right? Okay, so can we turn it up? If I'm speaking loud, I want to start losing my voice here. Why don't I just hold it? How that work? Okay. So I usually work on an outline, but there's enough detail here that I am going to bore you to tears by reading my paper, but I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. I will throw in a few lawyer jokes to see if you're awake, and we'll go from there. You heard about the group of thugs that decided to invade the retired lawyers club, and going to go in there and rob them. And boy, those guys gave them a real fight for their money. And the thugs got out the door and kind of reconnoitered over by the curb and said, "Man, that was hard. But at least we got out of there with $50." And one of the other ones looked at him and said, "You idiot! We went in there with 100." So, a brief history of education, compulsory education law, and it's really a history of compulsory education, not homeschool law, because the only reason we're here today is because there's a compulsory education law. Now, some people snidely call it a compulsory attendance law. I'm going to use those terms somewhat interchangeably, but of course there is a difference. You can't talk about the history of the compulsory education law in Iowa without putting it in the context of what was going on in the United States with respect to compulsory education. And the history of that compulsory education law in Iowa and the United States is a history of the struggle over who should control the education of children, the parents or the state. And so we have to look at that, and we understand in that struggle there were religious aspects. We're going to find, surprisingly, I was surprised when I researched it, there were political aspects here in Iowa, and you might be surprised who was on which side of the battle. And it also has rural-urban aspects to it, very much so here in Iowa. Now, the fact that there's all this shouldn't surprise anybody that's been involved in homeschool. As Justin said, we started homeschooling our children. They have gone to a little tiny church school, Ames Baptist Church School, for a little bit, and then we homeschooled them for about 5 or 6, 7 years, and then they finished up at Grandview Park Baptist School. And so I was involved, but I was involved actually in trying cases that started really in the late 70s. And what surprised me is I went back and did the research, because when you're trying cases, you don't have time to do anything except, prepare for that. And I had not really done the research that I've done now, and I find it a very interesting story. I hope you'll find it interesting too. Compulsory education laws were passed in the United States from a period between 1852 and 1929. Now, each of those dates is the tail end, because the first one was passed in Massachusetts in 1852. They were followed in 1864 by the District of Columbia.